Okay, and we are back. As you can see, the leather's still damp. The backside is not as damp, or very few areas of it are damp. So it's ready for us to start doing some tooling. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my split end divider, and I've already got it measured out to, I believe it is at 3/8 or yes, 3/8, and we are going to basically scribe ourselves a little line that we can use to bevel, and we're going to use the beveler to bevel around this line. So let's do that first. So we're going to come roughly here, and we're just going to scribe a line, and we're using the actual piece of leather as our guide. And yes, I did make a little mistake there, but that's okay. So we're going to come back to the other side. As we're working, it is a little more difficult than I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. That's why we're here, and that's why we're learning. Okay, so there we got a little scribe line. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's definitely a line there that we can see. Okay, so now we can take our beveler, which is the one that is angled. It's kind of squared, but it does have an angled head. Okay, so I'm going to choose to go ahead and bevel the inside of this. That way it's not going to interfere with our holes or our stitching. So now, from what I've seen other people doing this, they're really quick about it, and they just kind of walk it along. But you want to make sure whenever you do it, you're overlapping as you go. It's actually a little bit difficult to see around it right now, so my hand's going to be a little bit in the way here so I can see what I'm doing, because if you look, I'm trying to get the edge of that beveler into that groove. So as I'm going, I'm just slowly working it. And like I said, this is going to be a process, and I did mess up there, but luckily with the beveler, it should make our little mistake somewhat go away. Of course, we're not here for perfection yet, so please enjoy the laughter of this. I mean, it is kind of amusing that, you know, hey, we're not perfect, but we're not looking for a perfect piece right now either. And as you see, I'm getting a little bit faster as we're going here, so that definitely gives me some hope anyway. It's a little bit easier as I can see the line as well. Yeah, it's definitely easier being able to see where the line is as I'm going. So that's something that I'm going to definitely look into, because I can actually go a little bit faster when I can see this line. Okay, so if you look, yes, a little shaky of a line, but you can actually see that yes, there is a definite there's definitely a difference in the line. You can feel it. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm going to use my ruler real quick, and I know that this piece is roughly 6 inches from side to side, and it's also 2 inches wide at this thickest point. So at the thickest point, that being 2 inches wide, I can go ahead and go from this 3 to the 5, and I know where that 4 is. And we'll use my scratching awl, and we'll make a little dot here. Okay, so with that, I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but I can see it. So I'm going to take the cedar tool, and I'm going to place it as best as I can over the center of that dot. And with that, we got a nice little cedar hole. Now I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to do my own design here. Not trying to do anything that anyone else has done that I know of, or that's even in the booklet. So let's just see how this, somewhat of a flower, I guess it could be. Okay, so that's 5 little cedar holes there. Now I'm going to take the camouflage tool. Let's see that. It's not want to zoom in on it, but it is the little croissant shaped one, as my daughter likes to call it. And we're just going to place it and see how it works out. And we need to make sure that we are taking our time to place it, that way we know where everything is. I'm actually going to turn it to where I can see it better. So and I think our leather's starting to dry out just a little bit. You can see it's not taking the stamp as well. So, well, that's working out okay. Let me get my spray bottle and dampen it just a smidge more and wait for this here to soak in just a little bit. I want to go back over those last 4 and see if we can bring those to life a little bit more. Okay, so let's go back over these stamps one more time. Okay, yeah, see, that's definitely a much better stamp. You can see it a lot better. It's not much of a flower, but it's something. So let's just add a few more and see how it does. And again, we're taking our time for placement. And you see I was way off on the placement of that one. But that's okay. Again, we're not here for perfection. Well, you know, it's not perfect, but it's a start. I'm going to wet this other side down real quick, and then we can try something a little different on this side. Paper towel here to clean up my area a little bit. Don't need water everywhere. Okay, for this part, we're going to use the veiner tool and we're just kind of go around and just make a border with the veiner tool. So I want to start here and kind of go circle to circle, or eyelet to eyelet here, and let's see how this here works out. Okay, we're going to line up again. And these aren't making perfect in the middle, so I'm going to slide over and we're going to crisscross them just a little bit. And one thing that we do need to make sure of is that when we're using our tools, our stamps are straight up and down and not angled, because if you angle them, you don't get the full pattern from the tool. So we're taking our time for placement, we're checking for the angle, so it's all working in unison, so to speak. And what I'm doing is I'm going back and forth from side to side. That way when we get to the middle on the bottom, they will, whatever adjustments I need to make, I can make. And hopefully we have something somewhat interesting. And I do have the feeling that if I was using that wood mallet, because I'm having to use quite a bit of force with this heavier mallet, that wooden mallet would have taken this a whole lot longer to get these to imprint. Okay, and this, well, looks like there's a little bit of a gap here, but that's okay. Well, what I can do is I have the backgrounder tool here, which is the small pear-shaped one. And it's not wanting to focus, so let's... Okay, there it is. Okay, so I'm just going to take it and taking the smaller side, and we'll just kind of put it here, and let's see how this here works out. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And again, it's not perfect, but you know, we're just trying different things out and learning. Hopefully you're learning along with me, and if you are, then that's great. If you're laughing at me, hey, that's okay too. I'm laughing at myself. You just don't hear it as much. And one last one of these. You know, that doesn't look real bad. They're not perfectly even, but, you know, again, I did kind of rush those a little bit, but it's not too bad. If we want to at this point, we can go ahead and take, let's take the cedar tool. Let's throw, well, no, we're not going to, let's take the veiner tool and try and see if we can make other connections here. And again, we're just trying different things, seeing how it looks. Again, we're not interested in the perfection of it right now. we're just getting used to the tools. Well, that's interesting. I'm off, but it's interesting. So let's just... And let's do one more. And we're going to call, well, let me redo that one. I was a little off on my angle. There we go. So you can see on these here where I was heavier or leaning my tool a little to the towards me, so it didn't get as dark on this side as it did on this side. So that's the one. That's why you need to make sure we're keeping our tools upright. Now, before this can be dyed or antiqued or anything like that, it has to be fully dry, and that's going to take 2 or 3 hours. So I think I'm going to call that it for this video, and I'm going to put the link to all the tools in the description. Give me a like, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment if you want to know more. I'm really not super knowledgeable yet, but I'm learning. I hope you're learning with me, and we'll see you next time. This is Tony from ThomkattLeather, and in the last video I failed to include the links to where you can find the tools that I have. In this video I will have the links in the description. Today we're going to work on the keychain. Here's the lacing and stuff for it. We will use that later, so we're just going to put that out of the way. Couple of different measuring devices. We're going to move those out of the way for right now. The tools that we're going to be using, not really needed right now. First thing we need to do is we need to moisten our leather so that it'll take the stamps. Once you moisten it, you have to wait 2 to 5 minutes or so, from what I'm understanding, to wait for it to soak in a little bit. That way it takes the stamps better. So let's go ahead and do that. There's different ways of doing it. I'm choosing to use a spray bottle. There are some people who like to soak the whole piece and let it absorb all the way through. Others like to just dampen like the first 1/3 of the leather. It's depending on your preference. I have no idea what my preference is yet. I'm going to try this way. So let's let this sit in for a few minutes, and we'll be right back with you.